Race number 7 of Season 2 of the Last of Us Lite series rolls into the Lucas Oil Raceway. A little short track right near the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we get set for 50 laps of racing. And including this race, only 4 more races remaining here in this season. Keep in mind that this is the one series that runs here that does not have a chase. It basically runs on the old NASCAR points where if you get the most points at the end of the season, you're going to be the champion. And last week, we ended up having a race. It was the first time that we actually have back-to-back weeks with Last of Us Lite series races as we were at the dirt track of Springfield. Not only did we get our 6th different winner in 6 races in Simon Bloomfield, but we also have the top 3 in the point standings coming into this race separated by only 6 points. So the points battle for the top of the standings getting closer and closer as we progress even closer to our season finale. C Maley is the points leader over Benjamin Breeg. Breeg's only 4 points back, and Simon Bloomfield, with his win last week, moved up to 3rd in points, only 6 points back. And it's even still close amongst the top 10, 28 points separating the top 10. So a lock and change here at tonight's short track. R Brommer lines up on the pole position. Now Brommer comes into this race 32nd in the points. He needs a win, and probably a miracle in order to be up there in the points battle. But then again, you never know. Alongside him, Jeff Scott. Now, Jeff did not start out the season at Daytona. He started out 2 races in. However, in his 4 starts, he's 33rd in the point standings. And he's coming off actually a really good run back at Springfield when he ended up finishing out in the podium position 3rd place. So trying to continue that momentum. We'll see what he can do here. Then you got Griffin Lynn there in the 3rd position. Griffin Lynn comes into this race 4th in the standings, 11 points out, so he could be a player.
Start your engines!
As we get the command to fire them up, let's give you your top 10 overall in the point standings coming to this race, presented by Blame Shelley Insurance. We mentioned the top 3 already. Maley, Breeg, 4 points back. Bloomfield, 6 points back. Then you got Griffin Lynn, he's 4th. He's only 11 points back. And 5th in the standings, R Spurlytube, still in the hunt though, 18 points back, trying to get back up to the top of the standings. Ben Crouch, he's currently 6th in the points. Aiden Shepard, our Pocono winner, is 7th. Shane Vincent, our winner from Salem, is 8th. Logan Cloud in 9th as he gained 4 spots last week at Springfield. And Jonathan Wong dropped in the point standings, but still in the top 10 in 10th, 28 points back in the standings. 50 laps of racing here tonight. Ironically enough, this is one of these few short tracks we go to where the high side is the faster way around. So we'll see if we have a lot of passing here tonight as R Brommer and Jeff Scott will lead them down here, waiting on the flagman. Green flags in the air. Let's roll at Lucas Oil. Couple of Toyota Camrys duking it out for the lead. Jeff Scott way up on the high side through 3 and 4, and he will clear for the spot. I told you that high side is the faster way around the racetrack. And that was actually a really good first lap for Jeff Scott, a 25.484. So Jeff Scott to the point. R Brommer now back to 2nd. Dylan Farrell now moves up to 3rd as Griffin Lynn's now in a battle with Brandon Morris in the 34, and Morris is going to take the spot. Normally at a short track, you think of Martinsville, you think of Bristol, everyone tries to migrate to the bottom. Here, everyone's trying to migrate to the top, and Griffin Lynn's getting pinned down on the bottom. He's going to lose another spot to P Onjack. So Griffin Lynn, who started 3rd, now back to, it looks like, the 6th position. Logan Cloud there in the 48 also trying to find a way in line. Looks like he's going to tuck in front of Shane Vincent as Ashlyn Boyd got around for position. The 18 now up to 7th. Ashlyn Boyd been having a pretty good season. Headed into last week's race at Springfield, 11th in the standings, but a poor performance dropped him 9 spots in the standings. So now Boyd comes into this race 20th in the points. Now up to this point, we've had 6 winners in our 6 races, and all 6 of our winners have made every start since Daytona. Jeff Scott out in front here. If Scott were able to close the deal and pick up his first win, he'd be the first driver to have less than 6 starts this season in the Last of Us Lite series. Ryan Brommer is not reeling him in. He's losing ground to him. Matter of fact, he might get reeled in for second place by Dylan Farrell and Brandon Morris in just a moment. He just ran his fastest lap there, did Brommer, with a 22.8. However, the leader is running 22.5s. He just ran a 22.521. His last lap was a 5.25, so he was 4 1,000ths faster. It's another thing I noticed in practice with these cars that I found very unusual was the fact that normally when you go to a short track, you use so much brake and everything, the front tires heat up, especially that right front. You'd expect the lap times to fall off, but ironically enough, these drivers, their lap times actually get better as the run goes on. We've gotten 8 laps into this race, and I'm seeing drivers continue to whittle down their lap times by thousandths and tenths. Dylan Farrell going to hang on to the third position. Brandon Morris wanted it, but you saw he tried to make the pass on the inside, which isn't exactly the faster way around the racetrack. Morris, another driver, like the race leader Jeff Scott, who didn't start out the season at Daytona. Brandon Morris had made his first start back at Charlotte, starting off the second half of the regular season for the other 3 series. This is only his 4th start. Comes into this race overall 35th in the point standings. Good portion of that due to the fact he started the season so late. Looking good here, as is Jeff Scott. P Onjack, he was the driver we were talking about a few weeks ago, up near the top 10 in points. He comes into this race now 7th in the standings. So Peter trying, or I'm sorry, not 7th, I'm sorry, 17th rather. I was looking at the 7 on his door, and that's why I said 7th. Right now in the 5th position, and trying to get himself back up towards the top 10. Now, right now, the highest driver in the top 5 in points is Griffin Lynn. 4th in the standings coming into this race, and right now scored in the 6th position. So coming into this race, only 11 points back. He's going to make up some good ground, I think. Let's actually find out where his competition is running. Where's the other top 5 drivers in the point standings currently at? There's Riley Spurlytube, 5th in points, 18 points back. Last time by, he was scored in 15th. There's Simon Bloomfield, last week's winner from Springfield. He's up in 18th place. Aiden Shepard, 7th in points. He's in 22nd. Wow, Chris Maley, the points leader, did not have a good qualifying result, obviously. He's mired back in the 31st position. He just took 30th, it looks like, from L Lagasee. Now trying to get by Zach Rogers in the 27. But that's 30th out of 38 drivers, so he's running way near the back of the pack, and same can be said for Benjamin Breeg. Where's the 5? Oh wow, he's way back here in 36th. Breeg, who had the points lead heading into Springfield last week, finds himself 2 positions ahead of last place back here with Paul Jackson and Josh Drake, Tim Gary, and right now the last car on the track is the 23 of Clark McKee, who hits the line now. Leader just was in the middle of 3 and 4, so Jeff Scott, while he enjoys almost a 3-second lead back to Ryan Brommer, he's going to be very close to catching not lap traffic, but drivers on the tail end of the lead lap. And remember that the preferred line is around the outside, so is he going to have a car good enough in traffic to run the top side of the racetrack? This could be, as we haven't reached the halfway point yet, depending on when he catches the tail end of the field, this could be a huge break for drivers like Brommer, Farrell, Morris, Onjack, who are all trying to run that 0.6 down. It gets to the point where Jeff Scott's going to have to rely on trying to make passes on the inside line when and if he catches that 23 and drivers just ahead of him who are up to speed. Very easily, Jeff Scott could get reeled in for the race lead. We've also got the possibility, and I'm not 100% on whether this is going to be a factor or not, of possible green flag pit stops. We've run almost 20 laps now without a caution flag, which is also very unusual at a short track when you think about it. 50 laps, I'm not really sure what the fuel window was for these drivers, and so we're going to have to keep an eye and see if these drivers can indeed make it on fuel. Now, normally at a short track, you get in the throttle into the corner, you lift, you coast into the, into the turn, then you get back to the throttle as soon as you can. It's a good opportunity, though, when you're at a short track to be able to save fuel. So, like I said, I don't really know if this is going to be a fuel strategy race in any way, shape, or form, whether they can make it the scheduled distance on what they have in the tank, or whether they will have to hit pit lane. But whatever the case, it's going to be a bit of a surprise for you guys and me, I guess. Now, I keep hearing every now and then an engine just off in the distance, just off of camera shot, and I'm assuming that's the engine of the 23 of Clark McKee that Jeff Scott continues to close in on. There's Clark going into turn 3, Scott goes into turn 3 now, so it looks like there's still maybe about 2 to 3 seconds between the 23 and the 06. And at the same time, he continues to increase his gap back to R Brommer. Now it's almost 3.4 second separation. Hitting the line now, 3.6. So he actually just gained 2 more tenths on the number 20 Toyota Camry. So the good news right now for Jeff Scott is if he does have a bit of an issue with drivers on the tail end of the lead lap, he's continuing to increase his gap. So every 2 tenths he gains right now is going to be 2 tenths he can lose if he struggles getting around drivers at the tail end of the field. He actually gained another tenth that time, opens it up to 3.7 seconds. Best battle up near the front has been here, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, with Farrell, Morris, Onjack, and Griffin Lynn trying to get into this battle. For a moment it looked like Morris was going to make a move on Dylan Farrell, but not successful in doing so, and now we're actually getting into a point where drivers, their lap times are falling off. So in the first 10 laps, drivers were able to get faster and faster. Most drivers were running in the low to mid 22s. Now most of these leaders are running somewhere around the low 23s. So the tire wear definitely is now coming into play and slowing down these lap times. That time almost a 23 flat for Brandon Morris, but that's about 3 tenths off his fastest lap of the night so far. Let's actually look and see who has had the fastest laps of the evening. So we take a look at our top 10 fastest laps just past the halfway point. Jeff Scott out in front, fastest lap of the night, 22.496. No one even got close to that. About 2 tenths back from that was P Onjack. He ran a 22.7, as did Brommer, Boyd, Morris, Cloud, Lynn, and Farrell. And then with 22.8s, Patrick Smith and Riley Spurlytube. Let's drop back and take a look at that points battle that we had coming into this race between Maley, Breeg, Bloomfield, Lynn, and Spurlytube. Obviously, we know that Lynn is currently up in the 6th position, holding court in that spot. But what about some of the others? Have they made up any ground? There's Spurlytube, still in 15th. I think that's where he was when we left him. And still in 19th, or I'm sorry, in 18th rather. That's Simon Bloomfield. J Hallec gets a run right there, tries to go to the inside. He had a nice run off the corner on the high side, got blocked by Bloomfield, was not going to lose that momentum, tried to the inside, and it's going to not cost him, but he won't get the position from the 15. Trying to find Maley. There's Maley. He's going to finally get around Zach Rogers. That's going to move him up to 29th. So he just picked up a spot. Right now, Maley in big trouble of possibly losing his points lead to Griffin Lynn. Benjamin Breeg still scored in 36th. Clark McKee about to be the first car to go a lap down, as Jeff Scott has caught him. Now 4.5 seconds separation from the 06 back to the 20 with less than 20 laps to go. Going to be interesting to watch the lap times of the 06 as well, see just how much slower he's going to be going as he tries to figure out how he's going to work his way around the 23. Going to try and go to the bottom. Can he make it stick down there is the question. Tries to keep it along the left rear quarter panel. Can't do it. McKee's going to hold the spot for the moment. And Jeff Scott, who was running just moments ago by himself, 23 flats and 23 ones that time by, ran a 23.4, almost a 23.5. So yeah, his lap times are definitely going to suffer as he continues to try and get around this 23 car. We're going to have to keep an eye on the top left of our screen and see if R Brommer starts to close up the gap, as he is not having to deal with traffic at this time. And it looked like that time by he may have closed up the gap. We'll see this time by just about a little under 4 seconds from Scott now back to Brommer, as Scott trying to get by the 23. 23 is not going to give him the outside line. So Jeff Scott's got to do it the hard way on the bottom. He's able to get to the left rear quarter panel, but that's about it. And there you see right there, 3/10 cut down by R Brommer on Jeff Scott. Now here's the interesting thing though. If Brommer does manage to catch Jeff Scott, then Brommer's got the same task to get around the 06 as the 06 has right now to get around the 23. He's probably going to have to pass him on the high side. I mean, we're seeing right here the 06 is clearly faster than the 23, but because McKee's got that preferred outside line, he's able to hold off a stronger car. Got to be so frustrating right now for Jeff Scott. Not only the fact he can't get around the 23, but I'm certain his spotter or his crew chief are telling him, you know, that the car behind you is gaining 3/10 a lap. And right now, if the 3/10 a lap continues, that means that R Brommer will be on the back door of Jeff Scott somewhere within the neighborhood of 3 to 4 laps to go. Scott continuing to try and get that corner exit on the bottom, trying to get that momentum off of turns 2 and 4 to continue it down the back straightaway or front straightaway, whichever side of the racetrack he's on. And that time by, the gap got cut down, I think, by half a second. So yeah, R Brommer is really closing and closing fast. 2.85 seconds last time by, this time by 2.45, 4/10 cut down that time. And Brommer, I think at this point, can see the 06 ahead of him, so he may actually catch him earlier than I had thought. I had figured he'd catch him somewhere within the ballpark of 3 to 4 laps to go. He could catch him somewhere with maybe 7 to 8 laps remaining, as we are about to hit 10 laps to go next time by. Now Jeff Scott running in the tire tracks of the 23. But boy, his lap times have really suffered. Now running in the 23.6s as he just cannot get around Clark McKee. And McKee has no obligation to move out of the way of Jeff Scott. He wants to finish on the lead lap. And look at this, Scott. Ooh, he's got to get at least halfway by. Can he stay alongside off the corner? That's what he's got to do. If he loses... he did. He lost the left rear quarter panel. I was going to say, you need to stay alongside and be right alongside him, dead even going into turn 3. Not successful. That might have been his one opportunity right there, his best opportunity to put the 23 in his rearview mirror. Now less than 2 seconds from Scott back to Brommer. But again, the question, if Brommer catches him, what's he going to do with him? Is he going to be able to get by him? Maybe he can use the 23 as a pick, but I think Jeff Scott then won't even bother with the 23 trying to pass him. He'll then be taking the defensive line and running the top. It looks like maybe Brommer will catch him around where I had predicted, because next time by, it's going to be 7 laps to go. And Brommer is just about maybe 6-7 car lengths back. Time by, he might be somewhere within the range of a second off the back bumper of the 06, 1.2 seconds. At the same time that Brommer is closing in, Dylan Farrell and Brandon Morris are also closing in, but I don't know if they've got enough time, because Brommer's lap times are going to suffer as well when he gets up to these two drivers. So I don't know if the 0 and the 34 have enough time to catch up to him or not. A couple of drivers pop up here into the top 10 late. Shane Vincent up to 9th, and how about Marty Johnson up in 10th? It's a good run for a couple of those drivers as Jeff Scott continuing to try and get around Clark McKee. He'd love to have a lap machine between himself and second place. So far he's been unsuccessful in clearing the 23. Oh, is he still on the left rear? Oh, he might be able to get him here. Just got to get back to the throttle sooner. And he can't do it. 23 back to the throttle a lot sooner. And boy, Jeff Scott lost a lot of ground there to the 23 as well as to the 20. And here we go. Like I predicted, we are coming to 4 laps to go, and the 20 is going to be on the back bumper of the 06. What was over 4 seconds has now been cut down to 4/10 between Jeff Scott and Ryan Brommer, and you could see barely Dylan Farrell and Brandon Morris in the same shot as well. I don't know if they're going to have time to get up here, though. They're close. Very close. When he was out by himself, he was running in the low 23s the last time by. Jeff Scott ran a lap time in the 24s. Brommer right behind him, and I don't know if Brommer maybe used up all his stuff trying to run down the 06. He hasn't really gotten to Scott's back bumper yet, and he's going to have only 2 more laps to go when they hit the line this next time by. I think he needs the 06 to dive low here. He's going to do so. Now can Brommer swing around on the outside? He's opened up the door, has Jeff Scott. Scott trying to keep the 20 behind him, at the same time trying to get by the 23. He's going to hold him off at least for the moment. The white flag's going to be displayed this time. Scott's got to just ride, I think. He can't worry about that 23 ahead of him. 1 more lap to go. Jeff Scott. Going to stay in line behind the 23. He'd be foolish if he tries going to the inside of the 23 down here into this corner, because Brommer could maybe get a run on him. And Scott will not go low. Scott realizes he's got to defend the high line, and he will succeed in doing so. He dominates here tonight, hangs on despite a slow machine. Jeff Scott, in only his 5th start of the season, is going to get his first win in the Last of Us Late Series here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway. Scott made his first start back at Pocono Raceway 3 races into the start of the season. Had that great top 3 run of 3rd place last week at Springfield. The momentum keeps up as he'll take the victory here tonight. And he very nearly gave this one away. That one area where he made the move to the inside of Clark McKee, it looked like Brommer was going to try and make the move around him on the outside. He was just able to slide up in front, keep the spot, but he nearly gave this win away. But he didn't. He hangs on. And despite the hardship of being stuck behind the 23, still was able to hold Ryan Brommer at bay. So Scott with the win. Brommer, who started on the pole, kept himself in 2nd, almost had a shot for the win. He'll have to settle for the runner-up spot. Dylan Farrell brings it home in 3rd. Brandon Morris, great run there, in 4th. And P Onjack will finish the day out in 5th. Griffin Lynn will probably take the points lead over. We're going to have to, look and see where the rest of the drivers finished. But I think right now, tentatively, he could very well be the points leader heading into next week's race, or next race, I should say. Ashlyn Boyd brings it home 7th, so Boyd back on the comeback trail. Logan Cloud, who moved last week into the top 10 in points up to 9th, will continue to climb in the standings with another solid top 10 run in 8th. Same for Shane Vincent, who came into this race 8th in points, a top 10 run for him. So a couple of drivers making late moves in the season to get up in the hunt for the championship. And Nicholas Wade managed to get Marty Johnson for 10th in the closing stages of this race, moving Johnson back to 11th. Simon Bloomfield also got around Riley Spurlytube for 15th, so he finishes the second highest of the drivers that came into this race, top 5 in the points. Now, Bloomfield finished in 15th. He came into this race only 5 points ahead of Lynn. Lynn finished in 6th, so Lynn definitely passed him, and I'm pretty sure he also passed Maley and Breeg, so I'm almost 100% certain now that Griffin Lynn's going to be the points leader heading into our next race. Spurlytube will finish in 6th, though. J Hallec finished in 7th, our Charlotte winner. Lozano, our Daytona winner, finished in 13th as well. Ben Crouch, he came into this race 6th in points. He finished in 20th, so don't know where this is going to situate him. And Aiden Shepard came in this race 7th in points. He dropped back to finish in 22nd place. And, of course, Chris Maley, we saw that he didn't have the best of qualifying results. He fought his way up at least to 28th, and I think that was a driver that started at least back outside the top 30. So he did pick up spots, but I don't think he's going to keep the points lead. He'll still be in the conversation, I think, so he at least made the best of what he could of a poor starting position. And Benjamin Breeg going to take the biggest hit, I think, in the points standings, finishing 36th out of 38 drivers here today, and he came into this race only 4 points back from the points lead. So this is not going to be a run that he's looking for. And Jonathan Wong struggled last week at Springfield, struggles here again tonight in 27th. He might very well drop outside of the top 10. I think maybe either Alex Lozano or Marty Johnson could very well move into the top 10, replacing him when we head into our next race. But Jeff Scott becomes the 7th different driver in 7 races to go to victory lane, and only his his 5th start, I should say, of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's race from Lucas Oil. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We've shown you your full finish results, and these are your overall point standings heading into your next race. We take a week off, and then we're back for another back-to-back weeks. We start first with the High Banks of Talladega Super Speedway before heading to Gateway, and then we'll see them in another 2 weeks for their season finale at Kansas Speedway. But we also finish out this race weekend. Trucks and Pizza Deck Series are off, but we are going to be finding out the drivers that are going to be moving on to the round of 12 from our original 16 competitors for the Hershey's Cup Series. First elimination race from Indianapolis. That's going to be coming up here tomorrow. So we will see you guys for that race at the Yard of Bricks before we see you for all 3 series, the main series, at Auto Club Speedway next week. Till then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its